Welcome to Inside the Firm, a podcast dedicated to small business owners and hosted by entrepreneurs, Alex Gore and Lance Cayko. Each week, they take you on their journey of how to start, run, and grow a business by bringing you inside their architecture and real estate development firm. Get a behind-the-scenes tour of how these business leaders manage their clients and foster company culture while creating new and innovative projects. And now your hosts, Alex Gore and Lance Cayko.
Welcome, everyone. I am your main host, number one host, Al Gore.
Number one.
I'm here with
Number one.
co-host, backup dancer, Lance Cayko of F9 Productions. Anyways, I first want to give a shout out to Eric. I'm going to screw this up. Bratzler? Is that how you think it is?
Beautiful.
I think it is.
For a man with dyslexia,
Dude, things
couldn't
have been
have been better.
tricking me out. Not only, letters, and then like sometimes a word from the end will jump to like the middle. I'm like,
You know what I can't spell?
that word. Lots of things.
Bureaucracy.
It's not possible.
Not possible for me to spell it.
And know what's so funny? It's something that you despise so much. It's thwarted you with its multiple letters. Crazy.
That's where it started from. The fact that I can't consistently spell it.
I love that.
At one time I got it right.
The word matches the sentiment. Like, what? This is a confusing, long
Nonsense.
nonsense.
Can't even wade through it.
Nonsense.
Yeah.
And know what? Everyone, it doesn't just apply to governments. It applies to big businesses, too.
Oh, gosh, yes. 100%.
Terrible.
Insurance. We're going through the insurance process right now for the contractor portion of the development. It's an issue. It's a process.
Yes. Involving all these people is driving up the cost of everything, including housing and stuff like that. Anyways, I was doing a shout out.
Yeah. Back to the shout out. Sorry about that.
So we got a message on Facebook, and Eric said, "Thanks for all the hard work with the podcast and the lift template." Well, thank you for thanking us, Eric. Actually, I really appreciate that.
Honestly, with those kind of messages, it already feels like, wow, it's very rewarding, just doing what we do and giving, right? But once we get messages like that, like it does help for confirmation. Like, okay, good, people are listening. We are helping something happen in a positive way.
Well, I brought up this book before, Give and Take, and it's honestly a way to trick someone else into helping you more. Trick is the bad word, but you know what I mean. Like, think about the students that we've hundreds of students, right? And the ones that at the end come and say thank you. Like, if they ask anything in the summer, question, whatever, like, I'm immediately back on it.
Absolutely.
They came up and said thank you, and I think they're legitimately saying thank you. But in the book Give and Take, they said, make this part of your strategy. Make this, and it's so fundamental and it's so basic. Did I ever tell you about my lunch in high school?
Probably, but let's hear it. Everybody else hasn't heard it.
So anyways, getting lunch in high school, every time I got something, like I'd ask for potatoes or whatever, I'd say thank you. And generally see thank you, because I noticed a pattern the first times I saw it. When you can apply this like to Chipotle, when they're getting that guac, and you like, if you just like turn it a little bit more, you get a little bit more of that guac on there, right?
Yeah.
Get a little bit more of that chicken. So I noticed that pattern, right? So I started saying thank you all the time, because I noticed like, dude, I'm getting more potatoes out of this.
This is smart.
Yep. But no, what's so great? I just thought, literally, it was semi-selfish, but I was genuine in it, like, thank you, because I selfishly wanted more food to eat as a 15-year-old boy, right? At the end of the whole school year, I was graduating, 16. The lunch lady stopped me, and she said, thank you for being so polite. You absolutely, when you came by, you made my day.
That's fine. That's awesome.
I was like, oh, my God.
It's the little things, 100%. The same thing goes for my lesson has been in the last week, has been to contact if somebody writes a nice article about you with whatever you're doing in the press. It's so hard to get an unbiased press. If you're getting nice, even press, make sure you follow up with that person. Even if, let's say they just quoted you in like a public forum, or, let's say you're talking to the city council about your development project, or you're going up in front of the planning and zoning staff or something like that, and there's a reporter there. And if they quote you directly with what you say, it's very even. They don't try to twist your words. Run right to that reporter and email them, contact them, and to thank them. Get in the good graces, because it's everything for your public reputation as a business owner.
And our firm is based on the principles that the fundamentals, the basic simples, have a huge ramification over time, right? So think about the ramification that could have over time if lots of people did that one fundamental thing. Because what are the metrics? Metrics?
What are the metrics?
That the news that people are basing their news feed off of. It's how many they got and if they have any feedback. All the feedback is divisive now. Everything that gets clicks is divisive.
Yep.
So if you start so people, Fox News and CNN are so biased. Whose fault is that? Yours. Extreme ownership.
Yep, yours, because you keep jumping and biting at the bait like a fish, because that's what they're doing, is baiting you 100%.
Yes, and I've even had to stop myself because I know.
I totally agree with that. Yeah,
you know the articles that you've seen. This is going to be a slideshow. You know what I'm talking about. Where it's a slide, you're like you just
want that one image, and it's like, oh, this was terrible.
Yeah, just so they can get the advertisement click. So I don't fall for that bait. I'm not even done with this shout out here. This is how much off track we're getting. So back to Eric. We are just getting started with Revit, and as advertised, are off and running. Sorry, my eyes are so bad. A like back is much appreciated.
Yep.
Oh, I got to like his ad. Okay. So not only am I going to like REspace.deign. So it's REspace.deign, and then like on his Facebook, to giving him a shout out. I actually looked at their website. I'm going to talk to him this afternoon. He go check out his website. They do cool work, but the way his website is set up, cool. I'm so excited that your firm is getting into Revit, and I'm happy that it's helping. And honestly, we have never had we've had positive feedback from everyone that's done the lift or any of the training. And literally, it takes a while to understand like the power of it, because a lot of people don't have a framework to reference it off of. And a lot of people don't compare it to other courses because they just take this one and they're good, right? But we have had people that have done multiple and like, holy cow, what's happening here is really transformational. And it is. We've only had people return it because they go, oh, this isn't what I was looking for. I need more of a commercial application, blah, blah, blah. Totally understandable. Refund your money. Doesn't matter. But even if you're doing commercial, learning the fundamentals, I think that the way we are teaching is really, really helpful. And we're gaining traction. There's more people joining every day. Your son is in the other room taking it right now.
My 13-year-old son is taking the course as we speak. The goal is he finishes the course by Father's Day. That's my Father's Day gift to myself for my son, to get him some skills. But he commented yesterday. He's like, it's pretty fun. I'm making a cabin. So it's a fun thing to do.
I kind of razzed him for being slow. Uncle Al, great uncle. But it's because he got caught up in just making shapes when you do the family thing. It's like, I'm like, what are you doing? He's like, I'm making shapes.
Yeah.
So
yeah, exactly. He was just having fun. That's awesome.
So go to RevitRocketShip.com. That's where you can get it. Look through. We provide an overview, all that stuff. So go get it.
Yeah, check it out. It's cool. I was actually thoroughly impressed after I got Kyler into it with how professional it looked. So bravo to Al Gore for putting that together for us.
Yeah, you thanking me just so I do more work?
Exactly. You're falling right into it. So in other news, our development project is up for a final review. We met the deadline. Alex, was doing most of the work for that. I did the crappy materials board that we didn't even need for that day, which is kind of hilarious. And then was running around doing literally secretarial stuff, getting envelopes and stuffing them.
Stamping. Yeah, thanks for that.
What was that, like Tuesday or something? Was their deadline?
Wednesday.
So we made the deadline. Super excited about it. And I wanted to ask Al, since he's been heading up that portion of the project, which is the portion before, just so everybody knows, there's two portions here in Colorado, basically site plan development. It's kind of, wading through everything from a 40,000-foot perspective, as if you were looking at, it from above. We don't worry about buildings and the code and building codes or anything like that. And then the second part is building construction. Do you have, Al, any lessons that you'd like to share for anybody else that is putting forth their own capital, their own money in paying all of these consultants, and then also all of your time, which is money, just up? You're just bleeding. That's kind of where I was hoping we could give, like, how do you try to lessen the bleeding?
Okay, I do. And when I saw this on the outline, I thought that you had lessons learned. So,
well, here's yes. I'll give you one lesson right away. Okay, to kick it off. My lesson is, if as architects love, and I'm speaking for everybody here, but I feel like this is the general sentiment. We love the idea of we're doing an infill site. You know, it's a green. That's a green type of project, right? Because you're infilling in the city. You're helping with the density. But I would caution you on a first time doing that, knowing and going and doing an infill site, because know that you are going to have to suffer the ramifications of all the other neighbors that have built around you. Not that they had any bad intentions, but what you're dealing with is just leftover decisions, and then your project is not. It's not necessarily a hardship, but it's definitely harder to design. So, do you have anything to add to that? I mean, do you think that's a fair assessment? Like, maybe be just wade into that cautiously or not?
Well, yes, that I wouldn't inhibit you from doing it, and I wouldn't say that, hey, don't let an infill site be your first site. Say go ahead, especially if it's in walking distance. A lot of times you're not walking, but 15 minutes, right? If you're in the middle of the city, if you're in a big city, that's all you're getting. Just know,
yeah, fair enough,
that you're going to have to deal with the ramifications of water coming in, different setbacks, landscape buffers, separations between different types, commercial versus, just know that and be cautious of that.
And yeah, exactly. Yeah,
because it's hard to get like a outside the city pure
well
site.
And one thing you could maybe do we didn't really have the ability to do this because we just had to buy this piece of land, cut and dry. I mean, there's just no way around it. But if you have options, let's say you're competing between you're looking at 3 different infill sites. What you could do is you could take a look at those, maybe spend a morning and try to understand on each of them and try to understand the ramifications that might affect each one differently. And you can use that as leverage when you negotiate an offer price on the land. I think there's something valid to that, where you say, look, I do like this piece of land, whoever's selling it, I do like this. Here's what you're asking, but you got to understand, for me to develop this, there's all these ramifications, and so here's my offer price. Maybe it's less, I don't know. But there's something to that. I mean, there's just be aware of this. How about that?
Yep, very good. Mine is so I had almost I had a bad experience trying to get the coordination and coordinating in with a person on the team, right? Yep. And then so now I need to take ownership of that, and now I need to develop our standards better, right? So what we do in the firm is once we get a review from the city. Normally I have one of the guys do it, but I used to do this, is that, okay, we're going to go through every question, every point, and we're going to answer it like it's done. And if it is done, like, let's say, C sheet A4, like, okay, that's black. But if it's not done, it's red. If it's not in our area, if it needs to be coordinated, you assign a color, blue for civil, green for LA, stuff like that.
Yes.
Right? And then we send it off and say, here you go, here's the deadline, all that stuff. Let's try to get it a couple days ahead. And it just wasn't going just couldn't get plans by, and then trying to coordinate the day before it's due. Like, you just stepped into it the day before it's due. And when I asked before, do you have any questions? This is our number one priority. This is our deadline. And I don't think I made it clear like this. It's not like, if we push it back, we get a week delay. It's like
months.
There's nothing.
Honestly, and that's why I led into this whole segment about, I'm just so happy that we got in.
Yeah.
Because I think we would have been delayed another whole month. Because in our case, like the planning commission only meets, I think, once a month or once every 2 months or something like that. Some crazy time.
So
it's critical.
So when I'm hopefully getting now a dream team set up for a next project. It's and then I'm gonna lay out and say, hey guys, here's the standard. When we get comments back,
I like it right from the beginning,
or a meeting, there will be a set of points, right? And we're gonna answer them like it's done, and then send them out to everyone. We obviously won't answer your question. Then within 3 days, whatever's in your area, you're gonna answer like it's done, but then highlight, do you need something from someone else?
Yes.
And say, like, that's your first thing. And then, the due date is still 2 or 3 weeks away or whatever. But that's That's the process. So like if a civil needs information from a landscape architect for whatever reason, so like, you could say civil has accounted for trees in the water retention area, and then like, hey landscape, we need this from you. This wasn't the scenario. I'm just giving a scenario.
The better scenario.
Yeah. We need this from you 2 days. After we get it from you, it's going to take this long. So thus, guys, if we know our due date, then we need stuff before, right? And then the other thing too is okay, that could be the solution, right? And it should be. But then I went further, like, man, this is the second time. First time, shame on you. Second time, what's a shame on me? Third time, whatever that saying is.
Whatever.
Find it when I'm telling
talking,
this.
Yeah.
But I'm not going to be fooled 3 times. So then I reached out to my network and said, hey, do you have this kind of consultant? And they said yes. They sent me some, and then I called and they said, no, what's great about this one in particular is that and I didn't even say what was wrong or whatever. I just said, hey, looking for another good whatever. Let's another good lighting engineer. It's not a light, but that's what I'm looking for, right? They said this guy's great because like he gets his responses back like right away. That's the first thing he does. I'm like, oh, that is what I'm looking for. So hopefully set up. So it was 2 things: take responsibility and set the standard, and then 2, man, if it's not working out, then, and if there's other options, go with someone else. Like, why stay in that rut? And the reason I say that is that I feel like a lot of people might be in this situation where like, oh yeah, this consultant or dealing with this guy is always bad. That's today's
find
lesson.
a dream team. Good Lord, that's exactly what this episode should be called, is find a dream team. And it takes a while. So, which is interesting because I'm trying desperately to find just a team at all for the construction side of our development project. I just had an email come in. Another subcontractor said, I can't do it. I don't have enough. He's complaining that he doesn't have enough qualified people to do the work. And I don't disagree that, right now it's an issue. So, but I digress. That's our fault.
And know what? That's going to be maybe lessons learned on when you're getting together the bids. So Lance is getting, I know it sounded like Lance doesn't do anything because I was doing everything, but he's getting together bids for everyone. And one of the keys was, what was it? Was it the 4th fire engineer that we actually got a good bid on our fire?
I think we ended up contacting 6 different fire protection companies to do our fire protection system, sprinklers and alarms and all that. And we got 4 quotes back. 2 of them really great. One, I'm still waiting on one, and then one was just astronomical. So I don't know, but I got to read through the fine print. It's been difficult. People are very busy right now in Colorado, and this is an issue. So it's going to be a struggle. Next week is my next week to I've got a spreadsheet going where I say I've got written down like, okay, I contacted you on this day, and then I'm going to follow up. And I just have to keep doing this and like trying to get numbers together by the end of the month because this is a problem.
Here's a question.
Where's the 3D printer? Good grief! If anything, this I just know my conclusion at the end of this development project is going to be furthered with the idea that we need to take control, not control. Yeah, we need to take control of the idea and the push for. How do we make this 3D printing happen? How do we take back control of the majority of the construction as architects?
Well, because we are already of the assumption that more responsibility leads to more reward. How do you not get way more responsibility when it's literally they're printing what you are drawing?
Yes.
There's no, we want to eliminate city review in a responsible way, but it's literally from file to print. That's a lot of responsibility. So where should that reward go? And here's my conundrum with that is that I've hinted, but I'm in talks with people who have money and have skills. Both of those in plethora. Plethora.
People who have done cool stuff with big companies and agencies.
Yep. And it's a hot topic. It's it's a pertinent topic because I mean, you just said it. And the thing is, like, man, it worked so much better until after we got our space. Then it worked better. But it's like it's competitive. Who got to get there first. All that got to get the right people. Because honestly, it does matter the team. Because if you get the right venture people to begin with, then people pile in, and then they can't put their money other places because then it'd be competing. So then it's all like backing you and your team too. So like, I don't know if you have thoughts on that. If you're still like, oh, just wait. I mean, that'd be the clearest thing, but.
Well, me and Al, we've got all the time in the world to do all these extra projects. We were joking earlier in the office this week. I think you brought it up. Something about like, oh yeah, I don't know. I was thinking about getting my realtor license. Like, oh, you should.
Yeah,
because then that's another hat we could wear for the development, but it's not going to happen. But man, it's just a billion things to do, right?
Yeah. Well, because that would be the priority. Do realtor license, get it built, and then build 3D printer in there.
Yeah. Which kind of leads me into my quote of the week. Okay.
Yeah.
I wanted to see what you thought about this and how this applies to kind of where we're at right now. So busy is never a valid excuse. Either you care enough to make time or you don't. And that why I shared that this week is because two people told me that they're too busy to do things, and I hate that excuse. I feel like it's an excuse, unless you have a priority.
What would you prefer as a response?
What you said the other day.
What did I say?
It's not. I don't know. What did you say? Something about a priority?
No. I said it the nice way. What the gist of whatever I said? I'll just say it like without a filter. Is like I don't care enough about what you want me to do.
Yeah, it's not a priority. Therefore, it's not a priority.
Yeah.
Fair, and that's actually what I would rather hear.
Yeah,
because I feel like it's sugarcoating. So I feel like it's sugarcoated if you say it the way where if you just say I'm too busy. Don't say you're too busy. Just say you don't tell somebody like, hey, I'm sorry, but your priority is not my priority. And it will at some point. I understand your concern and that you want it to be a priority, but I have these other things in front of it. I will try to get to it at some point.
Yep, and that's the thing with the two things, the real estate and the 3D, is that I have a priority to make money for the firm because if I didn't, then I could do those two things.
So, we gotta eat. Yep,
gotta do that.
Exactly.
I can't. That's funny. Do you think people are trying to be nice by just saying,
yes.
"Oh, I'm too busy"?
Don't do that. I mean, I don't want to hear it, but maybe I'm okay with kind of.
But here's the thing. Here's the thing too: is that when you're asking someone to do something, you have, and not just you. I'm talking to the you.
Yes, the general you.
Yep. You have already thought about it for a long time, and you've done backup research. You've convinced yourself, something like that. So it's like, hey, Lance, let's do this. Let's do this. And oh, I'm too busy or whatever. But if they say the real thing is like, oh, I don't care about that. I don't care. Whatever you just asked me, I don't care about, right? But then it goes back to like extreme ownership. Like, okay, did you lay out the full ramifications of why this should be a priority? You know what I mean? Because you know why it's a priority, but that's all in your head. That's not in their head. You're literally coming at someone randomly saying, let's go do this. And you're like, no. You get what point I'm getting at?
Absolutely, 100%. So, that was my response to somebody who did so I did it in the backwards way. I think what you're suggesting is maybe you give them a preemptive discussion or strike, and you say,
"Hey, okay. Go ahead.
Hey, can you get to this? Here's why it's a priority: X, Y, and Z." Yeah. I think that's a good idea. I think that's a better idea rather than then one of the persons who said that they were too busy to do this thing I was asking them to do. They said, then that's why I laid out, well, to me, this is why it's a priority and why it needs to get done.
Did it work?
I don't think so. So I think this is a good discussion and conclusion is, maybe you ahead of time tell them that and say, hey, can you get this done? This is I feel like this is a number one priority for us for the following reasons. Much better. So there you go. I think lesson learned on both sides.
Yeah. I think I'm going to try to start including that why into exactly what I talked about
with herding cats.
With herding cats, The reason why we're doing this is because, and the main reason, like whatever I say, not just to get on time, is that if we don't set up this system and this expectations and this structure, then it's going to slowly crumble, and in crunch time, it's going to kill us. So
very smart. I like it. Make it happen.
So next, do we have our best friend, everyone's best friend?
He's at the beach, hanging out.
Yes.
Been at the beach for like 2 weeks.
So
good for him.
Here's Nick Reeds.
Hello, best friends. I hope you all had a great week this week. A reading from the beach. If we forget for a moment that a steamship is a machine for transport, and look at it with a fresh eye, we shall feel that we are facing an important manifestation of temerity, of discipline, of harmony, of a beauty that is calm, vital, and strong. A seriously minded architect, looking at it as an architect, i.e. a creator of organisms, will find in a steamship his freedom from an age-long but contemptible enslavement to the past. He will prefer respect for the forces of nature to a lazy respect for tradition. To the narrowness of commonplace conceptions, he will prefer the majesty of solutions which spring from a problem that has been clearly stated. Solutions seated by this age of mighty effort which has taken us so gigantic a step forward. A house of the earthman is an expression of the circumscribed world. The steamship is the first stage in the realization of a world organized according to the new spirit. Le Corbusier, towards a new architecture. Alexa, play the Escape song. Toodles!
What is the Escape song?
I don't know. I'll have to look that up.
Thousands of people will now know.
Yeah.
Two things. One, he said like you related a steamship to freedom, and I don't know if you have if you can read my shirt from over there, but what does my shirt say?
Discipline equals freedom.
Huh. Shout out Jocko. I know he's listening. The one thing, so rereading Corbusier now versus in college. Like in college, you learn a lot, and some of the student work that I'm seeing is absolutely amazing. But you just don't know if you have enough experience to really bounce these ideas off of. And the one thing that I have against Corbusier is because he always talks about how the steamship, the airline, and the car are analogous to like where the house should be moving. But then he talks about what the house should be. And then he talks in like the house should be art. The house should be whatever. So take the airplane. Remember the last time we talked about the airplane? He said you just can't think about it like a bird. You need to boil it down to its fundamental principles and then use thrust and lift as your guiding principles, right? Your guiding principles for like a house, his are, art and just all this other stuff. Like, but then you call it a machine for a living? And maybe that's fine. Maybe that's how a lot of people view it, and I'm on the other line, right? My wife always tries to call me, and she says that architects are artists. And I know a lot of people think that too, but I feel like, you're just bleeding it too loose. You're not defining words properly then. Like an architect is an architect. He can do artist things, right? But an artist normally times their things aren't functional beyond the art being the art itself, right?
There you go.
So the machine for living is just art. Like you just lost me there. Like why wouldn't you say it's there to solve like machine for living? What is living? Breathing, oxygen, air, earth.
Creating
like
food,
creating food,
collecting rainwater.
Yep, shelter, all this other stuff, and then boil it down to okay. Even if you weren't going to go that green route, which I really like, food, water, power, stuff like that. Let's say you're just saying shelter. Okay, now what? Now can't we look at it and say, okay, rain's coming down. What's happening? Like, what are the forces there? What is the weight? And this is where like Bucky gets in, Buckminster Fuller. Like, what is, and Norman Foster? What is the weight of your building? What is like? Let's get down to those really, really like small things, and not let planners and not let these other people take over these rules and say things like, I forgot what a rule was, but I don't know.
Make one up.
I'll make one up. Windows. Let's say you're doing a HERS rating on Windows and you need the U value or whatever. And let's say you want to, all I'm saying is that these rules, it seems like, God, I wish I could remember the one that one of the guys pointed out. It's like, oh, they just made that rule for this one instance and it doesn't apply to other things because they're not thinking about it in a fundamental way. If you can prove that your house, and I know now you can do this through HERS rating, like, okay, my windows aren't reading it, so I just slapped solar panels on it. But what if you didn't need to slap solar panels on it and your windows weren't doing that? What if it was the combination of mass wall and this other stuff? And, there's just a whole bunch of examples that I'm blanking on. But do you get where I'm going with this? Do you have an example?
Sort of. Are you getting at something in let's say you're in an HOA, okay? And the HOA says you have to have a roof pitch. Let's say a client comes to you and they go, they want a modern house. But the HOA is dictating like, well, you got to have a 512 pitch minimum on your roof. So what can you do as an architect to try to mitigate that and still achieve your client's goal, but at the same time meet these kind of restrictions? I think that's where the magic happens as an architect. Is that's why you're not just an artist, because it takes some science behind it, right? You're going to have to do some math. You're going to have to figure out what this looks like. An overhang increases by X amount, and then therefore it looks like a flat roof, that kind of stuff.
Yeah. So, well, here's sort of an analogy.
But I actually like that a house is a machine for living, because I feel like that's what my house is, and it is living art in a lot of different ways. So the way when sometimes the moon is out in the east, and my wife and I are walking around the neighborhood, and we can see the moon all the way through the house because I align the windows on this perfect east-west axis. You know, there's this whole feng shui thing going on in the house in the way it's oriented. The solar, we do all the solar stuff on our house.
Yes.
And then we did have to go through the HERS rating, like you were talking about. And what I did, we had to sort of work through it, and I had to convince the HERS rater that, come on, run these numbers in this way, because I know that this house is going to perform in the way I think it's going to perform, solar-wise in the winter, and then it did. And then we kind of skirted around things.
Well, I think that's okay, and I think art is one of the factors in there. I think just through his book, because he's given credence to it, and a lot of people have followed Corbusier, is that here's the logic. He makes a compelling argument about how we need to advance architecture, and then he says it's about form and art. What do they teach in school? Form and art and phenomenology and space, which is very important. But if that's all you're doing, you're solving one piece of the problem. Like, have you done a cubic yard of how much concrete's in your house and compared that? Have you looked at, and I think people, definitely the students that we see, they're doing solar shade analysis and stuff like that. But 10 years ago, 15 years ago, it was like one top solar shade analysis, where the sun path was like second year one time, and then maybe you threw it on again, and that was it.
And it was still this very, very heavy emphasis on the art.
Yeah, but they would never really critique that or whatever. It'd all just be about the art. So
yeah,
that's all I'm ranting about.
All right, that sounds good. What do we got next? I think we got the boys.
A.R.E. Jeopardy. Here we go. All right, we're here with four guys. We have Mark, Josh, Ross, and Jason. Gresh is out, so let's hit you with the first question. Where would you find range points? A, the curb and gutter. B, the firing range. C, under the sidewalk. D, in the road. Range points.
Where would you find range points? Good Lord. You put one of the answers firing range, huh? Hilarious.
Yeah. Okay, let's see what we got. D, A. The answer is D,
which is in the road.
Yep. So
elaborate for that. What range points and the road? What are we talking about, Al?
So the city buried what is called range points, and essentially they're grid markers to make sure like the grid is established. Now they're like computer chips. Back in the day, I think they used to be metal. And you literally need to stop the road to go find these, dig up the road, dig them out, like record its number, and then replace it. So, yay.
Yay! Good stuff.
Yeah.
So one person got it right?
No, three.
Three. Okay, great.
Yep.
Yeah. See, a little biased if Gresh is listening to this. There you go.
I'm just saying I have equaled out the bias with that one question.
Exactly.
Architects, question 2. Architects are protected against claims from subcontractors by which concept? A, agency. B, indemnification. C, isolation. D, lack of privacy.
Privity.
Privity.
Lack of privity.
Do it again. Architects are protected against claims from a subcontractor. By which concept? A, agency. B, indemnification. C, isolation. D, lack of privity.
Your reading's getting better as we wade to the podcast, Al.
I hope so.
Yeah.
Every day I get older.
Every day. A little bit older. All right, what do we got?
C, B, B, A. The answer is D.
Which is lack of privity.
Did you know that?
I did not. Elaborate.
So basically what it's saying is that privity is if Josh and I have a contract. We have a relationship with each other. The subcontractor doesn't have a contract with you. He has it with the contractor, and the contractor has it with the owner. So it's a lack of privity, basically. You don't have a direct relationship in any way.
And that's why you have and that's why you're protected.
That's why you're protected.
Hey. Okay,
whoop,
cool.
Whoop.
All right. Number 3. What are the cross braces used between joists to stabilize them known as? A, cross braces. B, bridging. C, blocking. D, stabilizer blocking. What are the cross braces used between joists to stabilize them known as? A, cross braces. B, bridging. C, blocking. D, stabilizer blocking.
Does it matter if it's in a floor or a ceiling?
I don't think it... What is the difference? What if a ceiling's a floor?
I'm just saying. Because I'm thinking one answer, and I don't think that answer is correct for me.
You can... Well, I would like you to talk about that after we figure out the answer here. Okay, do we have them ready? Okay. Al, I can't see that far. You read them.
B, C, C.
The answer is B, bridging.
Okay. So define blocking.
So, well, hang on. First, I'm going to answer your question. So this was in a floor, right? Floor joists, right? So yeah. I see how you could say maybe it should have been floor joists, right? How you could think it could be ceiling joists, but it was been as floor joists. Then the next question is, and then you said, what is blocking? Blocking is solid. That's the way I treat it. Okay, so I would say bridging is there's 2 cross braces. Exactly. Therefore, it's bridging. I don't know. And then blocking, I think, is a solid piece of wood.
Because
or
bridging, you can think, if you're trying to remember this, in stabilization, there's a gap between bridges go over gaps, stuff like that, where blocking is a full thing.
Yep. Blocking is solid.
Because
what are the cross braces used between joists to stabilize them known as? So
because couldn't you ask...
Cross braces is the key word here.
Here's a question for everyone to learn and discuss. What if I said, what is used between joists to stabilize them known as? Couldn't you say blocking?
You could say blocking because that's what we say. We say put solid blocking, if we're doing TJs, 8 feet or less.
Yeah.
Every span that is 8 feet or less.
Because I feel like that could be the question. And I don't want to say because I don't know how they word these stuff, but like the cross bracing is what leaded to bridging rather than blocking. Unless blocking is just a term we use here.
I think it's just a term we use here. Again, these are the semantics you'll deal with in A.R.E. So good luck to you, fellas. All right, what's the tally here as we enter the 4th question now?
We got Mark and Josh in the lead.
Okay, here we go. Time to catch up, other guys. Number 4, what is the method of wood framing wood stud walls in which the studs are 1 story in height and the floor joists bear on top of the plates of the wall below known as?
Great wording.
A, platform framing. B, tilt up. C, stacked framing. D, balloon framing. And I'll read the question one more time. Number 4. What is the method of wood framing wood stud walls in which the studs are 1 story in height and the floor joists bear on top of the plates of the wall below, known as A, platform framing. B, tilt up. C, stacked framing. D, balloon framing.
This is actually easy.
Al, what do we got?
We got all A's.
All A's are correct.
Whoop, whoop, whoop. So we have a tie between Mark and Josh. And then I'll give Jason, and then Jason and Ross tied because my question was a little bit biased. He had to be in the office.
Okay, so we have a tie between Mark and Josh.
Yep. So we need a tiebreaker.
All right, well, let's pause it and we'll be right back.
Okay, we got 2 guys that are 1 up. If they, don't get the next 2 questions and the other guys get the next 2 questions, they came back from the grave and won.
Wow, this is brand new on A.R.E. Jeopardy. Welcome to it. All right, here's the first question, tiebreaker, okay? A groove in a concrete structure made to predetermine the location of cracks is known as, and so I'm not going to give you any A, B, or C, D. This is just, you answer this. I'll give you a hint. It's 2 words, okay? That's it. A groove in a concrete structure made to predetermine the location of cracks.
Do 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 do.
Mark's scrambling to write
Say
something.
it again.
A groove in a concrete structure made to predetermine the location of cracks. Ooh. And it's a 2-word answer.
I'll tell you this while people are thinking.
Yeah.
Atlas was listening to Michael Jackson, and my wife says that he is now Michael Jackson's reincarnation.
I believe it.
She said he was trying to moonwalk, and we don't watch music videos.
You're kidding.
There's no way he's seen Michael Jackson in his life.
That's hilarious.
He's 1.5. Michael Jackson. Okay, are we ready? Because it's groove. Michael Jackson grooves. My baby grooves. That's the time. Okay, we have control joint. We have expansion joint. Control joint. Control joint.
Mark is correct. Control joint.
Mark wins. Whoop, whoop. 2 weeks streak.
I can't wait to eat wherever Mark says we're going to eat. That's going to be fantastic. Okay.